The 2026 Dakar Rally is now done and dusted, and as the sand sets, let's have a little bit of a talk about the winners, who won out over those final couple of tests, and who's coming home as Dakar champions. We're going to start off with the winners' circles, and actually we're going to start off with the most impressive one. 2 seconds separated the bikes at the end of 49 hours of competitive action. Luciano Benavides taking the championship for Ricky Brybeck, and then Tosha Sharena was in third, 25 minutes off of the win. In the cars, it was Nasser Al-Attiyah with a 6th Dakar victory. Nani Roma was in second, so you had another Dakar champion in second place. Matthias Ekstrom gets a podium, meaning that you have 2 Fords on the podium. He was 40 seconds clear of Sebastian Loeb, meaning that the top 2 Dutches were 15 minutes apart, but the winning margin for Nasser Al-Attiyah on his 6th Dakar triumph was 9 minutes and 42 seconds. In the original Balmo Tool, Benjamin Melo took the win by 14 minutes 32 from Josep Pedro, but Jeroen Martini was nearly an hour and a half off of the win. The original Balmo Tool category is the people who are doing the original spirit of the Dakar. They maintain their own bikes, they have their own tents, everything like that. It's not part of a big outfit. However, Rally 2 for the bikes went to Tony Mulek, and that was by 4 minutes 37 from Preston Campbell. So KTM still managed to keep it, despite the fact that Michael Doherty, who had been leading for a lot of the Dakar, had to retire from one of the stages. He came in, picked up a lot of great performances, including a stage win here today on the final test. But, yeah, it wasn't to be this time around. He was hoping for it last year, but Canet ended up being the person right up at the top. But this time around, it wasn't to be either. As for the stocks, Mr. Dakar Stefan Patterhansel ended up finishing down in 4th place, 38 hours off of the win. The winner was Rokas Bachuska, former T4 winner. Sarah Price in 2nd place, 3 hours 58 minutes even behind. But yeah, that's the stock category. You don't get that many cars, but it's all about who runs into the least issues. In the Challengers, Paulo Navarro ended up at the front for quite a lot of the event and ends up taking it as well by 23 minutes from Yasser Seydan, who had been competitive in previous editions. Nico Cavaglasio and Valen Petticarini had been competitive at some points. They had issues at other points. They end up finishing on the podium, but 36 minutes off of the win. In the SSVs, Brock Hager had been leading throughout and won by over an hour. It's the biggest winning margin between 1st and 2nd in the Dakar this year. In the trucks, it is a 2nd Lithuanian taking a driver's win. Vaidotas Zala wins for De Roy, with a crew including Portuguese Paulo Fusa and Dutch Max van Groel. Zala has been competitive in recent editions of the Dakar as well, so it's not coming as so much of a surprise, but it was a thing of attrition in the end. After all, it was various different issues that affected De Roy teammate Lepry, but also the likes of Van den Brink and Maciek, who had also been leading throughout this edition of the Dakar. Maciek himself, 4th place, 4.5 hours off of the win. Then when it comes to the non-standard classes, it is another Lithuanian, Karolis Raisis, with Christoph Marquez alongside for Avoko Racing, who end up taking the win in the classics. That's stuff where it scored a bit like in some regulation rallies. And they were behind the wheel of a Land Rover, a classic Land Rover even. 2nd place and 3rd place are different generations of Mitsubishi Pajero. 2nd place being an all-Czech crew driven by Andrzej Klimic, and then 3rd place being Josef Unterholzner in an all-Italian crew. Meanwhile, for Mission 1000, it went the way of the trucks this time around, with the KH7 Ecology truck of Jordi Juvantini, Jose Luis Criado and Javier Ribas ending up with 237 points. 2nd place was Fran Gomez Palas for the Arctic Leopard Galicia team. That is a bike with 93% finishing. So in terms of variation, 0 variation for the KH7 truck, 6 in terms of variation for the Arctic Leopard bike, but a total bonus of 100 as opposed to 97 for the truck. I mentioned stage run. Stage times were very important on this final day. Edgar Canet took the win here, and Canet himself has been somebody who'd been running up front, if not for mechanical issues. He took the scratch by 6 seconds from Benavides, and yeah, Benavides ended up beating Brabec by 3 minutes and 22 on the final day. It was a 3-minute 20 advantage going into it. Yeah, 2 seconds in Luciano Benavides' favour in the end, which was good for KTM. When it comes to the cars, Matthias Ekstrom took the scratch from Sebastian Loeb by 8 seconds. The 46-minute test. Henk Lattigan, who also had issues throughout this event, ended up third on the test, 13 seconds off of Ekstrom. And then you had 2 centuries rounding out the top 5 for Mathieu Serradori, who took a first scratch in 6 years, and then Brian Baraguanov, who we've seen here and there and everywhere in the Dakar in recent years, but that's, I think, a best time on the stage for this year. When it came to the original by Motul, Josep Pedro ended up with a win on that, but like I mentioned, Melo had quite a lead, so was just able to cruise, lost 5 minutes in the final day. Rally 2, like I said earlier, Doherty ended up taking the win by 2 minutes 28 over Ventura. Preston Campbell in 3rd. Mulek, the Dakar champion, was in 6th, 4 minutes 38 off the win. Rokas Bachusco did take the scratch on the stock class, 32 seconds from Stefan Petter-Hansel. Kevin Benavides took the scratch in the Challenger class from Charles Munster, brother of Gregoire Munster, a former WRC co-driver alongside him in Javier Panzeri. The Classics, it was Risis that took the win on the day. João Monteiro took the scratch from Johan Kristoffersen in the SSVs, and that was a big one for Kristoffersen and Erla Flern because they rolled in the prologue and were worried they would be out of the event before it even started. The Mission 1000 stage today, that went the way of Benjamin Pascual for Segway. That's right, Segway is in the ones that you see the old ride-on scooters. They make bikes, and their electric bikes compete in the Dakar in the Mission 1000 category. And Kay Huzink ended up taking the win today from Mitchell van der Brink Leprai in 3rd. For Vaidota Sala, it was 2 minutes 33 off of the win today, 6th place, but still enough to comfortably win the trucks. And that is pretty much it from the 2026 edition of the Dakar Rally. It's not my last video on it. Tomorrow we'll be doing a full review of the 2 weeks of competitive action, and I look forward to seeing you for that. But if you choose not to join, I hope you do stick around, because we've got motorsport season starting up soon for the WRC, F1 preseason testing for the new reg cycle, and also IMSA next week for the Daytona 24. So as always, folks, thanks for watching, thanks for joining, thanks for your continued support, and until next time, it's bye-bye for now.